Hello, good morning. Today we're going to take a detour because I've come across so many financial advice YouTube channels specifically geared toward doctors. Because the biggest irony is that, as a major income earner in a career, doctors spend all their energy focused on their medical training, which is, of course, appropriate and very important. But I think just as essential for their own well being and for the well being of their family members. They need to have some financial knowledge and savvy, and most importantly, some strategy going to the beginning of their career. And as they go to a retirement, they need to plan carefully. So I want to share my story because I feel that I was able to reach sound financial ground by planning carefully very early on in my career. I remember I was in my first year of pediatric residency at UCLA, and I invested my first paycheck and got some stocks in tech. Of course, that was right around the tech bubble, which kind of worked out in my favor because I bought uh, these stocks in actually Microsoft, Intel, major companies that I know are unlikely to fail at their lowest prices in right around 2002. In addition, I started making a earnest effort in paying off my student loan as soon as I got my first paycheck as a pediatric resident. It wasn't such a heavy burden for me because you can see that I planned even earlier than that because I intentionally attended only public institutions. I live in California. I went to UCLA for my undergraduate, went to UC Irvine for my medical school training, and actually went back to UCLA for my pediatric residency. And as a result, my burden of student loan was not nearly as heavy as some of my colleagues because they went to private institutions that had higher tuitions. And I accomplished something that very few people have done or very few people have come across without any help from my parents because they're middle income family. They own a business that eventually they had to sell. So they were unable to contribute anything toward my education or my brother's education for that matter. We're completely on our own, getting grants, scholarships, and loans to cover our educational costs and living expenses. Yet I managed to pay off all of my student loan within the first year of my pediatric residency. And back then, this is the year 1999. I think my annual salary was $33,000 as a pediatric resident at UCLA. That obviously wasn't a lot of money, but I was very frugal. Basically, ate in the hospital 3 meals a day, and I put all the cost on the meal card that we all get for free as part of our meal stipend as a pediatric resident. So I spent very little money on food, groceries, and housing expenses. I had a roommate, and I did have to live close to the hospital. And this is, Westwood, Brentwood. I lived in Brentwood, so obviously housing was not cheap. But that was pretty much my only expenses. I drove a very old car. By then, I think it was it's a Honda Accord. My parents bought me as a present for my medical school graduation. So I drove that car without having to pay any car debts. And eventually, fast forward, I became a doctor without any student loans anymore, mind you. Bought a house, got married, my son was born 2 months after I bought the house. And of the 30-year mortgage, I was able to pay off that mortgage in less than 5 years by basically making a concerted effort in contributing to principal payments, additional extra principal payments each month. I think I paid additional $1,000 to $2,000 a month toward principal, additional principal, because mortgage, as you may know already, the word originates from killing. You're killing the amount of money until it's dead. So I was able to kill my mortgage in less than 5 years, which was tremendous, and not only a psychological relief, but also it offered unparalleled degree of financial stability. My biggest expense is gone, so I was able to accumulate more wealth. I just saved a lot of money, put more into stocks and mutual funds, investments. My retirement funds fully funded. So once we sold our house, we moved to another house that cost more than $1 million, and I was able to put a huge down payment on that house. I think more than 50%, especially after selling our previous house, which is a condo. So I was able to pay off the complete mortgage for the new place that's more than $1 million in less than 1 year. And after that, I was able to accumulate wealth again, invest, and subsequently, more than a year ago, I was able to buy a second house as a rental property. And as you may be aware right now, rental properties are extremely valuable right now, especially this rental property is a single family residence. So it's worth more than a typical condo. And I was able to rent a place for nearly $4,000 a month. And that's just uh, significant income because the mortgage on that rental property is I only have to borrow about $200,000, and that place is worth more than $800,000. So right off the bat, I was able to pay additional principal on that mortgage for the rental property, and despite paying the additional toward the principal, I was still able to get about $1,000 income. Uh, so that's a great deal. If I had left that money in the bank, and with inflation being so high currently, I would never be able to get $1,000 a month in interest. Um, so that's my general strategy, and I think that the overarching goal is that your future is going to happen to you whether you prepare for it or not. I'd rather have a say in it and plan for it. So this way, I get to go where I want to instead of just landing somewhere when I'm happy. All right. Hope boundless happiness in your future life. Take care.